been a long time coming.
I owe you an apology.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
I just want to say sorry.
I want to talk to you guys in this video. It's been so long.
The YouTube apology and its inherent disingenuousness has become its own genre.
So a YouTube apology is really hard. Like, it's not an easy thing to do. The best way to do it, because normally you want to like cry and act like, you know, you're just so sorry that it hurts. But if you do that, you also tend to make yourself look like you're a victim, right? And the other people who are watching it, who are really upset with you, the people who you're trying to get to be on your side, those people are going to watch this and be like, oh, we're supposed to feel so bad for them, right? A YouTube apology is rough, but what you have to do is be very like straightforward with what it is you're saying, why you're sorry, and explain what you did wrong, and then say like, and this is why, like, I understand and won't do it again, right? That's it. And you like, you have to talk like I'm talking right now. It's not it's not supposed to be a show about how sorry you are. And it's not supposed to be a pity party for you so that everybody feels bad enough to accept your apology. And it's not supposed to be like, you know, your coming back party. Like, hey guys, I'm finally doing it. I know I disappeared for a couple months after the accusations, but I'm finally going to apologize. Okay? And now we can all go back to normal. Like, that's what it seems like a lot of times, especially when people disappear for a long period of time. Like, it just seems as though they're like they're just now apologizing because they're just now wanting to come back and do their show again. They got tired of not doing their show for so long, and now they want to come back. And so, like, it is a hard thing to do with a lot of elements to it. It's not like an apology with pretty much any other genre or like any other sort of entertainment. It is its own thing, and there's nothing else like it. It's very different.
To the point that people are cosplaying as them. The apology video is such a part of our zeitgeist that public relations professional Hunter Frederick...
And I don't know who this chick is. I just found her recently. Like, she just popped up in an autoplay video, and she's a babe, and she's really smart, and she's really funny. So I enjoy her. We're probably gonna watch some more of her. What's her name? What's you know what? We don't need to know her name. She's hot. That's it. That's all that matters.
Went on the record to advise the key to a good apology video is authenticity and owning up to the mistakes made. It also helps in the YouTube sense to turn monetization off so it doesn't look like a money grab. Bad apology video.
You're talking about the Vosh one from earlier with Mel? I would say no. I would say probably not, no. Alright, back to the babe.
Videos are longer than 10 minutes, he says, and overly emotional videos tend to get lost with the viewers. I have no shame in admitting I have watched like hours and hours of apology videos. I think there's something inherently fascinating about them, which is probably why they rack up so many views. But almost all of the ones that I've seen are pretty emotionally manipulative. The only exception, in my opinion, being Jenna Marbles, who made a 47-minute video genuinely taking accountability for her lack of knowledge of how to take care of a fish.
Incredibly sorry. I did not mean to disappoint anybody or make anyone mad or do wrong by any animals. So again, I really apologize, and I hope that If you're looking into getting some fishies, just don't do what I did. Just don't. Just don't do it.
And her 12-minute video acknowledging the racist things she's done.
Okay, so the way that she was talking, that's how you do an apology. You have to be serious. You have to show that you're being very serious when you make your apology video. Like, if it seems like it's an emotional thing, like you're doing it out of emotion, this is going to cause problems. And people are overly critical of apology videos. This is why I say, like, YouTube apology videos are totally different than anything else that you'll ever experience, because there's nothing like this. Wait, she is a surefire babe. Look, y'all can fight me on this if you want to. Try me, okay? I am digging it.
In her past.
But that was never my intention. It's not okay. It's shameful. It's awful.
I'm not posting an apology video, Girly Bear. Where am I gonna post my apology video? I am not apologizing for anything. I am getting time served with freaking over 2 weeks. 2 weeks! I've already served. It's going to go on past this. It's going to keep going. I'm still going to continue serving more time. I've already served. It's going to go on past this. It's going to keep going. I'm still going to continue serving more time. I get off with time served. For sure. No apology. No way.
I wish it wasn't part of my past.
And the reason I think Jenna's apology videos are genuine is because she doesn't try to make excuses for her behavior. She actually seems to reflect on how it's problematic, own up to it, and vow to do better. I mean, I don't know Jenna personally, but from what we can see of her behavior post-apology online, she does what she says, even when it's leaving her channel to reflect on how she can move forward.
I'm not sure that I want to continue doing stuff on this channel. And I don't want to put anything out in the world that's going to hurt anybody. So I need to be done.
On the other hand, most of the apology videos I've seen have the telltale signs of emotional manipulation. A huge one being excessive crying. I mean, there are compilation videos online where people edit down an apology video to just the crying, and sometimes it's 2 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I have always thought this was really weird. So, like, if this was truly just an emotional thing, I'm a conservative. I have to repent. Girly Bear? Girly Bear? I did nothing wrong. Like, I understand, as somebody who talks a lot about optics, I understand how this looks as far as optics go. I understand as far as rhetoric. I understand how this was bad rhetorically. I get those things. But that doesn't mean that I there's nobody to apologize to. There's nobody, like, nobody was harmed. Nothing happened to anybody. Who am I even gonna apologize to? I don't know who I'd say sorry to.
From the highlands of Los Altos de Jalisco.
I suppose I should apologize to my followers for not being there for them on Twitch and making content for them when they could have come over to YouTube, but no. Actually, yeah, you know what? Actually, they all They all owe me an apology. Okay? How about that? How about that? I want an apology video from all 500 of them. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going with that. Put the word out. I want an apology video from all 500 followers. Okay? And I will not rest until I get an apology from each and every one of them. That's what we're going with. That's the word. Let everybody know when Tom gets unbanned, they all owe me an apology. I sound like Senpai Chow. Well, Aiko did kind of owe him an apology, though. Like, she really screwed up his channel and made a lot of assumptions about who was running that channel. He wants to say 500 people owe me an apology. I think that's fair. Oh.
Clearly edited, and you could have taken all of that out. I mean, I think it's fine to say you were crying.
That's what I was about to say. It's very weird that like these people make these videos and the crying is supposed to be it's supposed to be real. Right? Like it's supposed to be natural, and they like cover their faces like they don't want people to see them cry. But then they go and edit the video, add in their intro, their outro, the end screens, some credits. Like they add in all of the stuff when they edit it. They could have edited out the crying, but they leave all of the crying in. You get all the crying. You don't just get some of the crying. You get all the crying. It's ridiculous. Like, I can't imagine me, like, crying throughout half of a video. It's like a 20-minute video, and 10 minutes of it is me crying, and I leave all 10 minutes of it in. And maybe edit out, like, 5 minutes. And so now it's a 15-minute video. But 10 of it's me crying, and 5 of it is me apologizing. Like, that's how most of these work out. It's really gross the way that they do these. I can't imagine doing that. Anyways.
And you could have taken all of that out. I mean, I think it's fine to say you were crying.
I was like sobbing all day on Thursday.
But to showcase full minutes of you sobbing when you're supposed to be taking accountability for something, that's called weaponizing your tears and trying to gain the sympathy and forgiveness of your audience through emotional manipulation.
True.
You mean so much more to me than that. You guys are worth so much more than that. And you guys are my family.
These videos also heavily dodge responsibility, often placing it on a third party.
As a result of all of the poisonous lies that were fed to me by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star.
Or on their humanity and imperfection.
I'm an imperfect person.
I have no emotional outlets in my real life.
But I'm not strong all the time.
Now, years later, I look back at that, and I've talked about this before, but when I say I hate that person, I mean it in the most intense way possible. I hate that person so much. That person was filled with sadness, filled with anger about their own issues, in the closet, constantly projecting on others, just like, I don't know, just that person is someone who I don't like seeing.
Or, you know.
No, the day I got banned, I got up to 500, and then when I ended, I think I was at like 507 when we what do you call it? When we raided into Eris's show, and then she dropped a link and said, hey, everybody go follow Tom.
No, they acknowledge some agency, but still, they're ultimately a victim too.
Yes, I'm a grown woman. I'm smart. I can usually spot deceit and manipulation a mile away, but my guard was down from being heartbroken, and I allowed myself to be worked by Shane, Jeffree, and others.
It feels especially duplicitous when the apologizer follows up with some public charity move that is so obviously damage control.
True.
Anyone watching, I want you to know you are not alone. And most of the time, crisis passes. So if you or anyone you know feels alone or trapped, I encourage anyone to call or even text the suicide or crisis hotline.
One girl even made an apology video for her apology video, which is an inception that I don't think needs to exist. And the reason why these videos don't ring true for us is because we can sense that there's no intention on the apologizer's part to change their behavior. It's a performative, purely self-preservational move.
And now that I said that I'm gonna take accountability for my actions, I really hope that you'll like, comment, and subscribe. If you forgive me, I also have some new merch. So I hope you'll buy that too.
That's good.
Hey Anna, sorry to interrupt, but we're putting in lunch orders like now.
Oh, okay. Can you order me the salmon, truffle, sashimi, and a green salad dressing on the side? Okay, where was I?
You're at the part of the script where you cry for like 20 seconds.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
But I think what we can learn from the YouTube apology video phenomenon is something that we often overlook in our own personal lives. I mean, how often have you gotten into a conflict with like a family member, a friend, or a partner, and the problematic behavior in question, whether it's perpetuated by you or them, keeps repeating itself time and time again? An apology with no intention or action or reflection to fix the root of a behavioral problem is basically taking an L so the other person...
Yo, she's literally just repeating everything that I told y'all at the beginning, except in a much, like, longer way. Although, I'm sorry. I'm getting choked up here. She's saying everything that I said at the beginning, but in a much longer way, but also in a much more, like, entertaining way, I suppose. But, like, this is literally everything I said. It's like, you don't want to cry. You don't want to, like, talk about why you did it. You just want to admit you did something wrong, why it's going to be different in the future, and make sure, like, everybody knows that you understand that you did something wrong. That they understand that you understand that you did something wrong, and explain why it's wrong. See, like, I don't know. So, with that said, that is how you apologize if you're going to apologize. What you really need to know is you never, ever apologize. Ever.
The hell up. Whether it's...
I can pretend I'm cool and that I say all that stuff literally like 2 minutes after I just said that Eris was talking about how I admit when I'm wrong and I apologize, and shouldn't have told that story, dang it. That one screwed me up.
It's intended or not, apologies without changed behavior can be manipulation. And we know this. We've probably done this as early as when we were kids. Like when we said, oh, we're so sorry. Next time, we'll for sure do our homework before we go outside and play. We've had this done to us in relationships when someone chronically cheats and they promise it's never gonna happen again and they're so sorry they hurt you. We may even have this in our family dynamic when we have a parent who promises to show up this time, and when this time doesn't happen, they ask for forgiveness and another chance. For the record, I don't think anyone's bad. I don't think anyone does this to be a bad person. I think it's really rare to meet someone who's actually trying to inflict harm on someone else. But intention doesn't matter as much as impact. You know, I could intend not to kill someone, but if I do it, do you think my apology is gonna make a difference? Sorry, okay, I'm sorry, it was an accident. Just wake up, and next time I promise I'll stop choking you when you ask me to. I mean, to be fair, you didn't ask me. You just, like, kind of looked at me. You didn't say anything. I mean, you were being choked. But, like, still, I'm sorry, Maddie. Just wake up. And this is the difference between a genuine apology and one that's manipulative.
Good.
Are we willing to examine ourselves and the issue at hand? If we're the person who's hurting someone, are we willing to put down our defenses and hear them? And more importantly, are we willing to put in the effort to change? Because, I mean, we're all gonna mess up at one point or another. I mean, we have hurtful biases and behaviors and patterns, and conflict in this world is inevitable. But the only thing in our control when that conflict happens is how we choose to react, how we choose to integrate that into our lives moving forward, and how genuine we can be when we say, I'm sorry, and I...
Girly Bear, stop yelling at me. I yell at you. You don't yell at me. That's how this works. That is the streamer mod dynamic. I yell at you. You don't yell at me. Oh, you said sorry. Oh, she said sorry. Got him. Got him. Never apologize, Girly Bear. You are so canceled. So canceled.
I promise I'll do better. I'm Anna Akana, and thank you so much to the patrons for sponsoring this video. Also, thank you to Squarespace for partnering for today's video, as they own all the content that you put on the Squarespace platform. And they offer one-click data portability.
Yeah, but Girly Bear, you're getting canceled. I'm canceling you for that one. Oh, speaking of getting canceled.
All right, Dana, so cancel culture is infiltrating everywhere, and it doesn't even...
The way of me making change
in this cancel
is to be
culture,
as judgmental as possible about
culture
other
in a nutshell.
Like cancel culture actually.
Cancel
Freedom of speech.
With cancel culture.
So people in Aiko's chat earlier were driving me crazy when we were talking about, or sorry, I wasn't actually in her chat. I can't chat. I can only watch Twitch from a browser, but I can see chat. I wasn't saying anything in the chat, just to be clear, okay? So, I was watching her chat, and a bunch of people in her chat were driving me crazy when they started talking about cancel culture. And Aiko started talking about, well, people can't actually be canceled. And some people in the chat were like, yeah, I'm pretty sure cancel culture isn't even a real thing. I'm like, what? Cancel culture is a real freaking thing, guys. Like, it's a real thing. It's not fake. People get canceled all the time. And then, I didn't say that. Sorry. That's what I wanted to say. And then Aiko started talking about, well, I know one person who can get canceled. I know one cis straight white male who can get canceled, and that's tomfoolery. He's the only one who can get canceled somehow. Trouble always finds him, but nobody else in the world apparently can get canceled. And I just wanted to be like, yo, like, people get canceled all the time. Like, they really do. But if you don't understand what canceling means, then yeah, sure, you can make up all sorts of stuff about how it's a boogeyman, how it doesn't really exist, how everybody makes too big of a deal about it. But there are definitions for canceling. Canceling means that we are taking away your social power. And this is a pretty well agreed upon definition. I had a panel with Destiny, RGR, Denims, Dylan Burns, and Irrelevant. And we all agreed on that definition. I gave that definition. They all said, yes, that is the definition. And then we all continued to talk about who we should or shouldn't cancel. We went over what they had done, and we talked about whether or not this is worthy of being canceled, whether or not this is cancelable. And so lots of people in the chat were talking about things like, well, I'm going to eat the rest of that in a little bit. Y'all chill out. I get it. I got to talk for a minute. I will get back to the pizza. So, one of the things that that they were saying is that when people talk about cancel culture, they say it as if it doesn't, or they use it in negative connotations, as if it excuses something else, or as if like it's always a bad thing. And I don't agree with that. I think most people understand what canceling is, and I think most people agree with it, whether or not they're willing to admit it. So even somebody like Ben Shapiro, who complains about cancel culture all the time, is willing to cancel people. He's willing to talk about how horrible some other content creator is who's a lefty, right? This lefty is so bad, and they say stupid things, and they're so horrible, and they're such a degenerate, and they want to turn your kids trans, and they want all of your boys to be soy boys and beta males, and they're racist against all the white people, right? He will say all of these things about people all the time, and not just content creators, but politicians as well. And if we're going to say that canceling means that you're taking away someone's social power, and it's not that you're just taking it away. You're taking it away for a short period of time. You're taking it away because social power can always be gained back. You can always slowly pull people back over to your side. You want people to have the chance to redeem themselves. Canceling somebody doesn't mean that they're just gone forever. It means that you take away their social power. You make it to where nobody wants to follow them on Twitter. Nobody wants to like their tweets. Nobody wants to retweet their tweets or share their posts or like their YouTube videos or subscribe to them or whatever else. They don't want to talk about them. They don't want to listen to their music. They don't want to watch their shows. They don't want to interact with this person and help give them more reach and more social power. They want to take that away. And we do this by stopping all of our support, hoping that it will take away more support of other people. And we will even shame this person. We will shame the person until other people are so afraid of associating with them because they look so bad, right? If we cancel Ben Shapiro, and we just keep making fun of him and keep talking about how bad he is and what a racist he is and blah blah blah, and anybody, then all of his followers are gonna be like, crap, dude. Like if I keep like watching his videos and it keeps popping up in my suggestions, and if somebody sees that, then I'm gonna be a racist by association because I'm watching Ben Shapiro. So like now I have to unsubscribe from him. Or if that doesn't work, if we can't make Ben Shapiro look bad enough to where everybody wants to unsubscribe from him and stop associating with him, then we just go after the followers themselves. We just go after them and shame them until they don't want to like Ben Shapiro anymore, just to get everybody off their backs. This is cancel culture. This is how you do it. This is how you get it done. And in the process, all you want to do is take away their social power. Does that mean they lose their job? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but that is a byproduct of cancel culture. That's a side effect. Losing your job is not cancel culture. Every time somebody gets canceled, they don't lose their job. They don't get fired every single time. But if you look so bad online to where a business no longer wants to associate with you because it's not profitable for them, then sure, they have the right to do that. And they will fire you. That's not cancel culture. That's just you getting fired because capitalism. But that's just a side effect. The point isn't to get somebody fired or to make them lose their job. The point is to take away their social power because we believe that the way that they use their social power is not responsible and they are negatively influencing others to the point to where their bad ideas are spreading. So we can cancel this person and hopefully in 2 to 3 years they will realize how wrong they were and they will make a comeback. This is cancel culture, and it is not something that hurts your freedom of speech, but it is actually an extension of your freedom of speech. It is something that makes your freedom of speech even freer. It makes it even stronger, right? Your speech can actually affect other people's lives and people in power. When people like R. Kelly and Eminem and all of these big stars, these millionaires and billionaires, we can go on a campaign online and use our voices in big groups to affect these people who are so much more powerful than we will ever be. That is an extension of your freedom of speech, because you could never do that without cancel culture. You would never have the ability to affect somebody in power in that way unless you have cancel culture, unless you have canceling. This is how you do it. This is why it is an extension of your freedom of speech. And as a conservative, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's a problem. I'm okay with it. Does that mean that everybody who gets canceled, it's automatically justified? No. It's not justified. And honestly, one of the biggest, actually the biggest problem with cancel culture is that lots of people take it way too far and go after the wrong targets. Somebody says something small, the tiniest thing, and people are ready to cancel them over. With great power comes great responsibility. We've all seen Spider-Man, okay? Cancel culture is a great power, and it should be wielded as a tool. But it should be wielded responsibly. It is a problem. It is a problem where lots of people are canceling all sorts of others for ridiculous reasons. It doesn't seem to go that route usually. It doesn't seem to go what route usually. So, as we go into this video, I wanted to explain what cancel culture was first, why it's a good thing, and we will critique this video based on those guidelines. We will see what the babe has to say.
Let's talk about cancel culture. I'm going to assume you know that cancel culture is a form of a boycott involving an individual, usually a celebrity, who is deemed to have had problematic behavior or who has said something questionable and controversial. There have been countless videos and numerous takes on why cancel culture itself has become problematic. The way that we judge an entire flawed, growing human being by one moment in time, taken out of that time's social context, thanks to social media and the internet. Ironically enough, cancel culture's origins apparently come from a misogynistic joke. Possibly the first reference to canceling someone comes with the 19...
From what I understand, the first person to ever be canceled was R. Kelly. And this was because he had sexual relations with a very young girl, and it didn't seem as though he was going to get in any trouble for this. So, I didn't do it, but lots of people went after him, and the hashtag cancel R. Kelly came out, and that's how we ended up here.
Let's talk about cancel culture. I'm going to assume you know that cancel culture is a form of a boycott involving an individual, usually a celebrity, who is deemed to have had problematic behavior or who has said something questionable and controversial. There have been countless videos and numerous takes on why cancel culture itself has become problematic. The way that we judge an entire flawed, growing human being by one moment in time, taken out of that time's social context, thanks to social media and the internet. Ironically enough, cancel culture's origins apparently come from a misogynistic joke. Possibly the first reference to canceling someone comes with the 1991 film New Jack City, in which Wesley Snipes plays a gangster named Nino Brown. In one scene, after his girlfriend breaks down because of all the violence he's causing, he dumps her by saying, "Cancel that, bitch. I'll buy another one." Jump to 2010 when Lil Wayne referenced the film in a line from his song I'm Single. "Yeah, I'm single. Had to cancel that bitch like Nino." This callback to the earlier sexist cancel joke probably helped the phrase percolate for a while. And then, several decades later, gained massive popularity in 2018 and 2019, as evidenced by this Google Trends data. Of course, there are certain cancel people who absolutely deserve to be stripped of their power and made to pay the consequences of their actions. If you're a serial rapist, abuser, convicted pedophile, murderer, or someone who likes fucking cantaloupe, then you deserve to be canceled, and more importantly, probably serve jail time. Because if you actually enjoy cantaloupe, you should not be free to walk the streets, and there's something incredibly wrong with you. What I do want to add to the cancel culture conversation are 3 things. 1, how cancel culture is weaponized against others. 2, how we weaponize cancel culture for ourselves. And 3, how we can actually fix this monster that we have created. Though cancel culture began with good intentions and undeniably has brought some predators to light, we're now witnessing the intentional weaponization of cancel culture against others. Some people use this to their own advantage, hurling accusations in order to get revenge for personal matters. If you're not familiar with the Tati Westbrook and James Charles drama, Westbrook insists her video calling James Charles out, a video that used language to insinuate that he was a sexual predator, was because Westbrook thought this was the only way to get Charles the help he needed, and not because she was upset that he promoted vitamins that weren't hers. You can watch the hours of videos if you want that dissect this topic to all hell, but I can tell you, it was about the vitamins. This weaponization of cancel culture is not exclusive to individual against individual. Fandoms rally against properties they aren't satisfied with, most notably the Sonic the Hedgehog film. Now, when the trailer came out in April of 2019, it was heavily roasted online and had a nearly 50% dislike ratio. And I mean, yeah, he looks horrifying. The reaction of the internet was not wrong here. I mean, he had human freaking teeth, for crying out loud. He's a creepy boy. But the Twitter outrage mob on Sonic
She said he's a creepy boy.
Was, according to The Hollywood Reporter, so immediate and loud that Paramount pushed the release date and had the VFX team redesign Sonic with an appearance that matched the Sega games. It's hard to argue that this weaponization and power of the internet of fandom was necessarily wrong, because when you compare the 2 designs, one is clearly way less creepy. I think we can all agree that the redesign is cuter and more approachable and feels less like a creature who eats and enjoys cantaloupe. But nonetheless, this is still weaponization. And in this case, things came seemingly all out for the better, given that it set the record for the biggest opening weekend for a video game film in the United States and Canada, hauling an estimated $57 million. I mean, Sonic ultimately ended up grossing over $319 million worldwide, and even with the redesign, the budget was about $95 million, so this entire debacle had a happy ending. But I would argue that it sets a pretty dangerous precedent. I mean, how much of a say should audiences have over creative choices? How many times have we seen movies canceled based on their trailers? Which, by the way, most filmmakers have no control over the way that their movie is marketed. Usually, it's at the discretion of the film distributor, and we all know how misleading trailers can be in order to get us to watch the movie. And though the Sonic incident turned out well, we've seen outrage mobs in other contexts, particularly academics. And these mobs have often succeeded in silencing professors, philosophers, and journalists. Take the case of Rebecca Tuvel, who in 2017 published an article addressing the question of transracialism, which was relevant at the time because of the news coverage of Rachel Dolezal, a white woman who claimed Black identity. In the paper, In Defense of Transracialism, Tuvel examined the arguments used to defend a transgender identity and applied these to the question of transracialism. This is a very common technique among philosophers, testing if reasoning used on one issue would apply equally to a different issue that appeared a close parallel. The negative social media response to Tuvel's article? Huge. An open letter with 500 signatures, which apparently was mostly signed by non-academics, was sent to the publication demanding that the article be retracted. And it was an unprecedented move. Now, the academic community itself largely supported Tuvel, pointing out how several statements in the open letter were false and misleading and did not reflect the actual content of Tuvel's paper. The Intelligencer has a great breakdown of Tuvel's paper that debunks most of the assertions in the open letter, and I'll link it if you want to read it. Tuvel herself went on the record to say that she had written the article from a place of support for those with non-normative identities because she saw transphobic logic lay at the heart of the attacks against Dolezal. Now, I'm not here to comment on who is right or who is wrong, because I'm not an academic or a transgender person or a transracial person. My only thought on the entire controversy of this is that if people found fault with it, they should have addressed it critically, with critical thought. The level of outrage and personal attacks that Tuvel faced was not warranted for an academic article rooted in philosophical thought and examination, because this is what philosophy is for, to examine why we think the things we think and bring different viewpoints to the discussion for debate. Look, the culture we live in is moving at such a rapid speed. What is socially acceptable or not changes incredibly quickly. The norms around gender and identity are in flux, and philosophy, they got a lot to examine right now.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You might think that I'm just like trying to toot my own horn here, or that I'm, taking things maybe a little bit overboard, but I truly believe that places like Twitch have a big say in this sort of stuff. I think that places like Twitch, like Twitter is where a lot of this stuff plays out, but on Twitch we have the philosophical conversations and face the hard truths to decide whether or not these things are acceptable, whether or not they're moral, whether or not they're ethical. Like we're the ones who go over all of this. So I think that Twitch plays a very big role in how all of this plays out. And when it comes to the philosophical stuff and how fast all of this moves, a lot of it moves very quickly because we have these conversations in big groups on big panels, and thousands of people having it on their own shows, talking to their own audiences about them. We can move through topics just like that. One person has a take, the other person responds to that take, and the other person responds to that take, and it continues to evolve from there until after a day or two, we feel as though we have the answer, and we move on. And the internet is fixed. YouTube, Twitch, places like this, and Facebook as well. I know that Twitter is where a lot of this stuff plays out. Facebook, not so much. On Facebook, you can actually have nuanced conversations with much longer posts, and it's not all about dunking on somebody. Like, you can actually have these conversations on Facebook. So I think that like internet is able to move really quickly with things like this, even though they are very philosophical ideas. I think we're able to work our way through them quicker because there are so many people working on them, and all of those people are working on those issues with their communities all at once. So yeah.
And if we find fault with one of those assertions, we should make sure to note the context is within academic speculation and address it accordingly, without threatening someone's life or family or employment when they're doing the very thing that they're employed to do. Now, if Tuvel's article was like a hate piece that attempted to invalidate trans identity and was laden with obscenities, like, that's a different story. But it wasn't. And I'm very curious how many people who signed that open letter, one, actually read Tuvel's article and not just the provocative headline, and two, had the academic background to even understand why the explorative article was written as a parallel to transracial identity and the conclusions it made. Now, the weaponization of cancel culture against a myriad of others seems like a no-brainer. But the second, and I think more harmful effect, is that we weaponize it for ourselves. We weaponize cancel culture so that we feel better about ourselves. Because feeling angry and feeling superior and feeling outraged feels fucking great.
But I do get a sense sometimes now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, there is this sense sometimes of the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people. And that's enough. Like if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or used the wrong verb, or then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself because, man, you see how woke I was? I called you out.
Yeah, calling someone out makes us feel real good. It automatically places us above the person who did wrong. The problem is, we forget that we do wrong shit all the time.
This idea of purity and never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff. You should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws.
There's a wonderful book. It's called So You've Been Publicly Shamed by Jon Ronson. And it examines the Twitter outrage mob and the real life effects that this digital judge, jury, and executioner have had. Some of my favorite standout quotes are, "The snowflake never needs to feel responsible for the avalanche," and "We were creating a world where the smartest way to survive is to be bland." Cancel culture in its most extreme form often forgets that, yeah, we judge an entire person based on one moment in time out of context of actually knowing that individual's background, exposure, upbringing, and growth. And if cancel culture's goal is to make people more aware of their harmful behaviors, yeah, it's succeeding. But if its ultimate goal is for those harmful behaviors to be adjusted so that people can move forward in their lives and integrate that awareness and get rid of that problematic behavior, then it's fucking failing. I think Sarah Silverman put it the most eloquently on an episode of her podcast.
Christian Picciolini, my friend, who was a neo-Nazi for years, since he was from 14 to, into his 20s, late 20s maybe, was the head of a neo-Nazi, whatever KKK chapter where he lived. He has spent the last 30 years getting people out of hate groups. That's what he does. But he went towards love. He was 14, he was smoking a joint, and an older kid took the joint out of his hand and threw it out and said, "You don't need that stuff, man." And gave him a place where he was accepted and cared for and loved. And that was a hate group, a neo-Nazi group, where he found family and camaraderie and a place to be when both of his parents worked all day. In this cancel culture, and we all know what I'm talking about, whether you think there is one or there isn't one, or where you stand on it, and there's a lot of gray matter there.
But unfortunately, Twitch has a huge audience of young people / children, so the platform dummies down to that common denominator. Everything needs to be PG family friendly. I don't think I agree with you, but I do think that that makes sense as to why I was banned. If we can make the argument that Twitch is a children's platform, then what I said on there should not be allowed. I'd have to think about that, but I think you may have helped me figure it out, Girly Bear. I think that that would make a lot of sense if that was the reason why I got banned. Because it's a children's platform, and we don't want that sort of language or those sorts of comments on a platform with easily influenced children. Yeah.
But without a path to redemption, when you take someone, you found a tweet they wrote 7 years ago or a thing that they said, and you expose it and you say, this person should be no more, banish them forever. They're going to find some place where they are accepted. If we don't give these people a path to redemption, then they're going to go where they are accepted, which is the motherfucking dark side. I think there should be some kind of path. Do we want people to be changed? Or do we want them to stay the same, to freeze in a moment we found on the internet from 12 years ago? And so we can point to ourselves as right and them as wrong. It's righteousness porn.
I don't know about you, but I'm very tired of this circle jerk of righteousness. I want people who don't like Cantaloupe to have a way back to love. Not banishment and irredeemability and moral superiority. If we don't have a space for white supremacists to go when they denounce the KKK, how do we ever expect them to leave?
I have said this a million times, and this is one of my biggest criticisms about Aiko. It was one of my biggest criticisms about Lady Rain. It's one of my biggest criticisms about lots of these people who seem to think optics doesn't matter, and we can just bully anybody and everybody for whatever reason. As long as we don't like the things that they say, we can just banish them. Where do you think people go if they're not accepted by who you believe is morally superior? If the morally superior do not accept you, they do not allow you into the inner circle, then they go to the people who you deem to be morally inferior. Fascists are never gatekeeping fascism. They are always there with their arms wide open, ready for new people. And they are recruiting. Not only are they waiting for somebody to be upset with the left and have another why I left the left video so they can swoop in. Not only that, but they are recruiting. They are purposefully working to get people who are just regular normies, regular conservatives, regular liberals, and even the leftists and the progressives. They are working to get those people on their side. Meanwhile, leftists and lefties are busy kicking everybody out. And then once they kick them out, then they're going to go onto their Twitch video or onto their Twitter page or onto their YouTube video and talk about all the fascists and how could there be so many fascists and why do so many people vote for Trump and blah, blah, blah. You are the reason. You are the reason. You can do all the same things. You can believe all the same things. You can have the safe spaces. You can argue against the Nazis. You can talk about how good leftism is or how great socialism is. All of these things. But if you are not doing these things to get more people on your side, then you're just preaching to the choir. You're just in an echo chamber. You want to say things to people so that they will agree with you. And that's it. And that's fine. But when people disagree with you, you can't kick them out. You can't turn around and banish them, because when they are not accepted somewhere, they will find people who accept them. And there are groups of people out there that you don't like that are accepting of everybody. It's something that everybody truly has to consider when they decide what it is that they want to do with their platform. And I have chosen to make my platform about convincing people, specifically about convincing people of ideas that I agree with. But that doesn't mean that when people disagree with me, I get rid of them.
If we don't have a path for misogynists to deprogram and be reintegrated into society, how can we expect them to change? If we don't have room for people to make mistakes, learn from them, and then do better, what the hell do we think cancel culture is actually promoting? Real growth? Or just getting really high on some...
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes. Cancel culture, as I said, is to take away their social power for a short amount of time. Not forever. For a short amount of time. The point is for them to realize that there is a massive group of people that believe what they did was wrong. And hopefully it's big enough to where they are able to actually look at themselves honestly and say, man, if there's really that many people who think that I was wrong, then maybe I really was wrong. And hopefully, just because they admit that they're wrong doesn't automatically mean that they're a different person. Doesn't automatically mean that they've changed. Hopefully, they now have a year or two to really figure things out and do things in a better way. And then when they come back, they really will be a different person and they won't make the same mistake again. That's the hope. That is what cancel culture should exist for.
Someone's low. And I'm sure we can all agree that if we had to choose the goal of cancel culture, we'd say we want these people to change, to stop perpetuating problematic behavior that hurts others. But right now, we don't give them any acceptance or room or grace to do so. All we do is point the finger and watch them burn and feel really fucking good about ourselves. And if our goal, our true goal, is to bring awareness to injustices and prevent them in the future, then we need to humanize cancel culture. And that starts with every single one of us, every single time we're logged on. I'm Anna Akana, and thank you to the patrons who supported today's video. And thank you, of course, to Daddy Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode.
So, I think it was a good video. I think that she hit on a lot of the really important points. I don't feel as though she gave an adequate definition of what cancel culture is. But I think she hit on a lot of points to say this is what we don't want it to be. And I think that that's a really important conversation. And it's a conversation that's being had, but I don't know that it's being had by the right people. I don't think the right people are listening. The ones who are canceling those unnecessarily, the ones who are ready to cancel just about everybody. And I'm not even talking about just the people who are doing it for like personal retribution. I'm talking about the people who just think like, I don't like what that person did, therefore, let's cancel them. I know lots of people who don't even realize when they're canceling somebody. I know I've seen it so many times, especially on Twitch, where somebody is like just really digging into somebody. Like they're really going at them, picking at them and picking at them and picking at them and picking at them. And they'll be like, whoa, I'm not canceling this person. Like, what? I can't criticize somebody? Come on. dude, if you're going to criticize them online this much over and over and over in front of big, massive audiences, and then you're going to influence other content creators to also criticize this person over and over and over, lots of people who are in the audience who may associate with whoever it is that you're talking about, whoever it is that you're canceling, or not canceling, who you're criticizing. Lots of those people who are watching may be a fan of that person, but they're not going to go back to them now. Now they're a little embarrassed to associate with them because you just made fun of that person a whole lot. You made them look like an idiot. And now these other people are like, you know what? They look dumb now. I don't know that I feel comfortable supporting them anymore. That is effectively them being canceled. If you are taking away their followers, you are thereby taking away their social power. I don't care if your intent is to cancel them or not. Lots of times, that is the outcome. And you have to recognize that when you do criticize somebody that hard, you don't just say, hey, they would do better to do this. Or, hey, this is where they happen to be wrong. No, instead you make fun of them, you embarrass them, and you make their followers embarrassed to continue following them. You have essentially canceled them by definition. And I don't think that lots of people understand this, and I don't think that they're responsible in the way that they critique other content creators or other people with social power. So yeah. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I appreciate everybody who hung out tonight. I'm going to sleep. It is morning, but we're going to say goodnight anyways. Have a good night. I love you. I'll see you later. Later, fools.